A huge foundation we hope to lay for you in this course is the ability to create the most appropriate markup for a set of content. You'll usually be working from some source document that is formatted, or perhaps even a design composition or comp. Take this comp, for example. We'll create a file and add the standard HTML structure to the file. The process at this point should focus simply on recreating the appropriate structure and not at all on recreating the aesthetics. The first thing we can do is enter each block of text we see into our HTML document inside the body tag. Let's preview our document in a new tab. Not much to look at, is it? Our content is here, but there's no structure or formatting at all. In fact, the white space, the line breaks and tabs that we entered aren't even making a difference. So we need to figure out what markup we should use. And let's use this process. First, block level content elements, then inline details, and later we'll learn about organizing and grouping elements. They'll come last. So for block level content elements, we can ask this question: where are there headings, lists, and paragraphs? Let's start with the headings. What headings do you see? Here are my thoughts. This one here is the most obvious heading. It's large, bold, and above everything else. It will be our H1. But this one here is also a heading. It's much smaller and more subtle, likely marking a small subsection of this page. I believe it falls underneath this other heading structurally, so I'll make this an H2. Remember, we can have as many H1s and H2s, and even H3s and down to H6s as we'd like. We just need to make sure to mark them in a way that they don't skip levels, and that they match the hierarchical structure of the document. Note as well that we don't need to overthink things. Some things might be bolded, and might be a single line, but that doesn't make them a heading. Headings are labels for content that follow them. With these elements marked accordingly in our HTML document, the preview shows them with their default formatting thanks to the browser's native style settings. It doesn't look at all like the comp yet, but it's beginning to be structured like the comp. That's good. Let's keep going. Now let's move on to consider if there are any lists. Lists are actually quite common in web documents and can often be easily overlooked. What lists do you see, if any? Here are my thoughts. It's easy and obvious to spot your typical bulleted and numbered lists, but other kinds of lists are all over the place on the web. In this case, check out the logos underneath this heading. What are these logos? Well, they're a list of the clients this company has had. Did you catch that? Even though there aren't any numbers or bullets, it just makes sense to describe this as a list of clients. So we'll run with that. Now, these aren't prioritized one over the other, so an unordered list should do it. And we don't know how to add images yet, so we'll just use this plain text version of each company's logo as the items in our list. Take a look in the browser to ensure things look as expected. Now the elements that remain should all be paragraphs. In some rare cases, a paragraph block might also count as a long quotation, but we can make quick work by placing a fresh P tag to open and close each paragraph. And do be sure to mark each one. Take a look at the browser to ensure everything is marked as expected. Last in our process to this point, we can mark the inline elements in order to provide appropriate nuances. Look for italicized or bolded text, inline quotations, superscript or subscript, abbreviations, or code samples. Inline details are a little more subjective. The thing to watch for is the proper use of B and I versus strong and M. Since B and strong both have the default effect of bolding some text, let's reserve strong for instances where we really mean to add boldness for emphasis. Other times, we're just bolding for some style difference, and B is just fine for those cases. So here in this contact button, Are we emphasizing or just bolding? I'd say we're emphasizing. And as a side note, rarely do we ever need to add strong tags inside an entire heading. They're already emphasized by nature of being headings. Now similarly, the I and M tags both have the default effect of italicizing. But sometimes we italicize for actual emphasis, and other times we don't, like how we italicize titles of books. So we should reserve the M tag for times when we really want to add emphasis to text. So how about this little italicized word? It's probably emphasis. So now we'll just check the results in the browser. Well, there you have it. You're equipped to get started marking your own documents. I believe that the tags we choose are what separate us from machines, among other things. Only humans can interpret semantics with reliability. So do your job well and honor the Lord with what you've learned.